Welcome to Lead Story on this Friday. It's an unusual start because we are making some needed adjustments to our studio cave here at 69 Constant Spring Road. But that aside, we're talking about Father's Day. It comes up on Sunday. What are we celebrating? How can society empower men to take their place in this society? And how can the men take back what they have allowed to be taken from them in terms of their roles, their responsibilities, and how they dispose and discharge of those duties they have as men in a society, as brothers and as fathers? That's the discussion on Lead Story on this Friday. Director chided me for talking tales outside of the classroom, but there's nothing wrong in letting people know that we are improving to serve them even better, and that's exactly what's happening here inside the studio. But yeah, Father's Day comes up on Sunday, and it catches us at a time when the society, of course, continues to be heavily focused on women and women's needs. And you know, there are many relationships, many situations where the man just gets criticized and pilloried and battered and bruised every day, and he's expected to grin and bear it. And you know, it's a part of the burden of being a man. But as we celebrate Father's Day 2025, we ask, you know, how can we empower the men among us to bear that load, to bear that burden, to carry that responsibility, and to eke out the respect that we so undoubtedly deserve. In case you are wondering, well, how does the Father's Day celebration on Sunday fit in to what Lead Story is doing on this Friday? We hope this helps.
As Father's Day draws near, families across Jamaica are getting ready to celebrate the special role that fathers play in the lives of their children. Studies have shown that children with involved fathers are more likely to excel academically, have stronger social skills, and develop a healthier sense of self-esteem. According to the American Psychological Association, father involvement is linked to lower rates of behavioral problems, substance abuse, and even criminal activity in youth. While traditional roles of fatherhood are evolving, with more fathers serving as stay-at-home parents or sharing caregiving duties equally. Beyond the household, fathers often serve as role models and mentors in the broader community, whether coaching youth or volunteering at schools. Their influence extends well beyond their own children. Despite the clear benefits, many fathers face barriers to being fully present, from rigid workplace policies to outdated cultural expectations. So how important are fathers, and what can we do to uplift men and help them to be better fathers? We discuss on Lead Story.
Thank you very much for that, Adrian. We take our first break. Back with more on this Friday edition of Lead Story. When I come back, I'll return with friends.
Fundraising Worship Encounter presented by the Jamaica Seventh-day Baptist Conference of Churches on Sunday, June 29, Randy Williams Entertainment Center, featuring Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Alicia Taylor, Kevin Heath, Nadine Blair, and Perpetual Sounds of Praise. Gates open at 4 p.m. Showtime 6 p.m. Tickets available at spruropen.com. Jesus All the Way, a worship encounter with a purpose. Sunday, June 29, Randy Williams Entertainment Center, powered by Stuart Soto, Love FM, Mellow FM, Gospel JA, and CVM TV.
Save when you charge your electric vehicle with JPS. It's even more affordable than gas. Our Charge and Go network offers the fastest electric vehicle chargers, so you can power up in as little as 30 minutes. With over 39 charging points island-wide, you'll always find a convenient place to shop, eat, work, or relax while you recharge. The Charge Lab app and Charge and Go RFID card make it easy to pay and track your charge right from your phone. Start charge. Learn more at jpsco.com/charge and go.
In a world where innovation meets tradition, agriculture is evolving like never before. From the latest sustainable farming technologies to age-old practices passed down through generation, agriculture is
precious to me.
I love the animals. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I love working.
Join us right here on CVM TV every Sunday during news at 7 as we explore the people, the science, and the breakthroughs that are shaping the way we grow, eat, and live. You don't want to miss it. This is Farming Forward.
Welcome back to Lead Story here on this Friday. So I told you I'd be returning with friends, and I'm staying true to my word. Dr. Herbert Gale is the chairman of Fathers Incorporated, and Nashan Miller is the director of male empowerment at the Bureau of Gender Affairs. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Nashan, I would have seen you earlier. Had a good chat about our beloved Manchester United. Struggling now, but better days are coming. And I was in the back of the room as Dr. Gale wowed the audience with the findings of his research into many things concerning men. Dr. Gale, I want to start with you. There's a song by a reggae artist, Dr. Gale. I don't know if you're familiar with Munga Honorable, where he says, "And I came to take my place." And I want to riff from that to ask you, the Jamaican society now as it stands, as it is structured, what is preventing the man from taking his rightful place in this society, you would say?
Well, there is a lot of delusion in Jamaica where people don't stick to the facts. They try to be North, they try to play a North game. So they'll be very South or part of the global South, but pretend that they're in the North. And so I think part of the crisis we have here is lack of information. Even the expectations we have of children, boys and girls, some of it just don't make sense. So fathers have 4 roles, and the one that we assess them on, so those 4 roles will be to protect, provide, male nurture, and of course be a role model. But the one that they get, that 76% of people assess them on in terms alone, is on provision. And if you look at the quality of employment in Jamaica for a lot of men, they just can't manage. And they hinge all their patriarchal rights on this single thing, rather than people assessing them based on how much they protect their children, how much they love their children, how much they actually spend time. And so there's a lot of misinformation. There's another big one. This one is that it is boys who benefit immensely from father presence. There's no data in the world to show that. It shows that comparatively, boys benefit immensely from their fathers, but girls benefit even more. There's so little work in even this region on fathers and their daughters and mothers and their sons. So there's a lot of stuff we don't get right, and we spend too much time listening to people on social media and people who have no training, and we live a lot of what we do by accident, and we learn things and then we spend some of it trying to move around the wrong bar, and it's a lot of chaos when it comes to parenting. And it's quite often when we have sessions and I sit down with men and women and I say, these are the things that men are best equipped to do. These are the things you need to help them with. For example, the emotional intelligence and so forth. People are usually in shock because that's not what they had in their heads about what really is meant by fatherhood. It's a lot of stuff. And I've often said one of the core things that people get very uncomfortable with in terms of fatherhood is if you check all the caves, if you check cave drawings, cave findings and so forth, you'll see that fathers are usually the one that's ready and willing to die for his children.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more before I go to Nashan Miller, Dr. Gale. I made a point on another platform earlier today about something I saw as a boy that has stayed with me for over 20 years. A man who came to see his daughter that the mother had taken away from their home. She had gone far away to live. And he wasn't, as you know, Jamaican man, he never depend nothing in the moment, is what he later told some men in the community. And with what he had, he said, look, it's not much, but at least I want to make a gesture to show her that with the little I have, I'm still thinking about the child sufficient to come with this. And he came with 3 bags of the small cheese tricks in one hand, Dr. Gale, and a cheese crunches, animal crackers, and a nice little biscuit in the other hand. So he had 6 packets in total, 3 cheese tricks, 3 assorted biscuits in the other. And he came and he called the mother and said, boy, you know, if it's even with the bricks at school at break time, she can't eat them thing here. The mother cursed that man dog rotten, disgraced him the most way. And I never saw that man come to that yard ever again. And I watched that woman struggle with that child. And isn't that story a very popular one across Jamaica, Dr. Gale?
Yes, very. In fact, what I find interesting is the need, the urgent need for us to train mothers in how to relate to fathers when the relationship is no longer intimate. The most popular, which is 48%, you will see roughly close to a half of women's first decision will be to 2 things, cuss him out or take him to the family court. And quite often what we know is that women often take a man to the family court. Family court's decision with this family is less than the man had intended to give. I've seen a lot of that. And that could have been sit down with somebody at a church, sit down with somebody at a counselor somewhere and work something out. But in Jamaica, the blood boils very quickly. So that's one of the things. If you look at the data on murder-suicide, you'll see that the 3rd biggest crisis for men is being denied access to their children, which means that for somebody who did not produce from his own eggs, yes, in the sense of delivering a child, for somebody who's given all kinds of descriptions, that says the depth of the emotions around children. And that is precisely why you'll see in Jamaica, way above other countries I have studied, and I've been working on this in 17 countries, 67% of men who the diagnostics say this is not your child, this is paternity fraud, still continue to be that child's father.
Yeah. Nashan Miller, you have a very important role in the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport at the Bureau of Gender Affairs. Very important to stress that the designation has changed from Women's Affairs to Gender Affairs. And that work to give men access to services that can help them as a society buffets them every day repeatedly with the stick of negativity. Is your work catching on? Are you making progress in making men know that these services exist and they can use them to get away out of this hellhole that we put them in?
Certainly. So when we started originally, it was Bureau of Women's Affairs. And now we find ourselves where Minister said that she wants to place more focus on men and boys, and she wants to reintroduce the male deaths. And she asked me to basically be the face of that, represent men and raise awareness on some of the issues that are affecting men, also to celebrate men where they need to be celebrated. And in 2016, the name was changed from Bureau of Women's Affairs to Gender Affairs with the male decks. Later changed the name to Special Service Decks for Men. Then Minister recognized, she said that, well, we're outgrowing a decks, we need to have a unit now. We need to have a department. And now we have a male empowerment unit. And I tell you, the first Father's Day celebration we had, in comparison to what we have now, you will be blown away, because when we started, I can tell you that we never had the resources, whether financial or human resources. There wasn't a level of awareness. We know what Mother's Day was like. I would say, listen, we're going to make Father's Day a staple event in our calendar. Every year, we're going to ensure that we celebrate our men and boys. Not just from the standpoint where the young fathers, as I just want to mention when I say boys, because they do have young fathers. We have an adolescent mothers program at the Women's Center.
Yes.
Young girls who get pregnant get the opportunity, and the belief is that oh, these boys just go on with their life and they are not affected. So we said, no, we need to make provision. We need to put measures in place to also assist them. So I said men and boys because I recognize that these young men, they too are become fathers and there's nothing in place. So every year, this year we said we're going to increase our numbers, and this was the biggest celebration we have. We had 68 recipients, and they were from various backgrounds. We have JCF, Jamaica Defense Force, Fire Brigade, community members. We have numerous, as I said, and it's not just Kingston and St. Andrew, from as far as Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Thomas, fathers from all over Jamaica coming to Kingston, and we celebrated them. We said we're not just going to celebrate them by giving them a plaque. Yesterday we had a Caring for the Caring Dads party where we treated these fathers, giving them manicure, upper body massage, barbering, cutting them their ear, because a lot of them said they never received anything like that before.
Yes.
They're always providing care for everybody but themselves. So we say we want to provide care for them so they can relax and enjoy the day before they come and collect their award. So the space is growing, and there's so much that is going on and so much more to be done. And the hope is that the more we do, other persons will pick up and do things in other spaces. But
Yes.
from the government perspective, we're doing the work, and we will continue to do so. This is our 7th installment of our Outstanding Fathers Award. We had it under the theme, The Power of Presence, Fathers Who Make a Difference, with the hashtag, That Is Hope.
Yeah.
And the hope is for us to just continue for years to come.
Hear you on that. Let's take the break and come right back. Dr. Herbert Gale and Nashon Miller are with me as we talk about the Jamaican father and men in society and how the odds stacked against us, you know, they are.
With Sunrise, Miss Kitty and Dennis are stepping into a new week. Our first stop, Money Masterclass, Carlton, is back fresh off the Father's Day weekend. Then we're serving up something special in Breakfast is Served. From feast to finance, we're checking in with NCB. And we'll wrap your morning with a little grace. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
A motivating factor for us was always that slogan, you need to enrich others, and from enriching everyone else, you will be enriched.
I usually joke that it's a high school experiment that went wrong.
Well, if they can't manage it, you know, God help them.
He put me on some of his accounts, and the first thing he said is, "This is my money." I love that idea.
Everybody have degree, all of us have.
You know, I say, boy, if you're not going to put out, I'm going to fire. You never stop learning until your day that you die. And that is something that I'm using for myself, that just constantly trying to learn and become better each and every day.
Because we know you're not turning me a grandfather.
Maybe him don't know.
Oh gosh!
The Cut this Sunday at 6 p.m. The Father's Day edition, brought to you by NCB.
Welcome back. We're talking about the Jamaican father, the Jamaican man in the society as we have it structured. Dr. Herbert Gale, Chairman of Fathers Incorporated, and Nashon Miller, Director of the Male Empowerment Unit at the Women's Affairs. The Bureau of Gender Affairs is with me as well. Dr. Gale, you said something in your last point about 67% or 2/3 of men who get the jacket continue to take care of that jacket. What does that then say about the popular perception in Jamaica and the usual refrain from men when you ask them? So if you find out that the child you think was yours and that you have been supporting is not yours, what would you do? Most men for the camera say, no, mind the pitney, so forth, so forth. But your research has shown that more men do continue to take care than those who do not. what does that say about the real role that men are playing as fathers in this society?
Right. So what it says is that Jamaican men are learning that fatherhood is not just biological, that it's actually a very strict situation. But the truth of the matter is that we've been doing very well for a long time. If you go back to the 1991 study with Janet Brown, Barry Shavans, and Pat Anderson, all this, right? You'll see clearly where they've written the contribution of Caribbean men, speaking about the extent to which men have been doing these things and taking responsibility on a social level for a very long time. But nobody has been saying thanks. I think the first time we saw a father in Harford Tree with one child on the shoulder and one in the lap and one on the leg moving up and down as the bicycle moves. Barry Shavans was with me. We were driving through and he says, no, come, all of you come in the trooper. At that time, we had a trooper. All of you come in the trooper. And Barry, I remember dropping off everybody at different schools and so forth. At that time, Father's Inc. was quite young. This is in the 1990s. And I've seen these things every day. Like every day I hear people cussing fathers. I see the opposite. But let us also give thanks, because when we started, when I started at Fathers Inc. in 94, Fathers Inc. started in 91, I was given the exercise of finding out what proportion of articles written about fathers on Father's Day were positive. We found one written by Barbara Gludan.
Wow.
One.
Wow.
And we found 117 cussing men rotten.
On Father's Day.
A ratio for Father's Day. One good one, 117 bad ones. And the last assessment we made was 217 good and 5 bad. Nation, that's a lot of victory. That is, and by the way, Father's Day now accounts for 15% of the revenue of Mother's Day. So a massive journey, and it is a lot of work. But people need to be honest and to embrace the fathers, right? I mean, somebody said to me, the ones who have jackets are honorary fathers. I don't agree, they're just fathers.
They're just fathers.
Again, I say to people, if you genuinely don't understand and you wish to underestimate the value of fathers, check your cave drawings of death when there's a disaster and see whose body is lying on top of the children. Check.
Yes.
There have been many cases here, even in Jamaica, during hurricanes and so forth, when houses fall. The father uses his body, every literal part of his body broken to protect his children, and that's fathering.
Yes.
So we have to begin to do that.
Yes. Nashan, in terms of services available, you know how men are, perhaps it is that they don't want to be seen as a sensitive type who will need help or will need some guidance. Has the Bureau of Gender Affairs sought to pitch the availability of services as a man seeking practical solutions to the problems of existence as a father, rather than giving it a sensitive edge, almost as if you're weak, to encourage men to not let masculinity and machismo prevent them from accessing services?
No, definitely. As I said, awareness is very big, because I can remember back when we have a male empowerment network, we're talking about positive groups and individuals that speak on men issues. As Dr. Gale alluded to earlier, more is being done, because when I just started, it's the same thing. We're talking about negative images and perception of men in the media all over. Like when they talk about fathers, they talk about the what list, the different stereotypes. And I remember one group, Mogaba, Men of God Against Violence and Abuse, led by Reverend Jason Down. I said, we want to see more positive images. I would say, you know what? Let's do a focus on fathers. We want to have a series called Amazing Dads. And that started the ball in terms of putting positive images of fatherhood. Not just because what we recognize is that we talk about things like real man. A man have to be classified, placed in a category. Category is what that can be changed on a daily. So today you're a real man, tomorrow you're something else. So based on your ability to provide, to give to a woman, to give to, you will be placed in a category. Somebody said earlier today, when we talk about Mother's Day, we say, give it up for all the mothers out there. But when we talk about fathers, we say, give it up for all the good fathers. So we have to put something there. Yes, to classify a father, what area, what box he fits in, because we have to box him in. So if tomorrow something happened and he's unable to provide, he's no longer a good father. Tomorrow he's not present because he probably have to go somewhere, he's worthless. So these are the things we have to have some negative connotation with our fathers, and we have been raising awareness, talking about healthy masculinity, talking about what is toxic, and also talking about how women respond. So I often said we want to talk about toxic masculinity and behavior traits that are negative, what we consider negative behavior traits for our men and boys.
Yes.
And we want them to be more vulnerable, open, talk.
Yes.
But do we have a society of women that are ready for this openness, this change, this transformation?
Yes.
Because if they say I'm to be open, vulnerable, talk about my emotions, and when I open up and talk about my emotion, I hear that I'm weak.
Yes.
I'm jelly back.
Mama man,
so
yes.
What are you forcing me to do? So today I can't act like that.
Yes.
But then I go out there. It's a real world out there.
Yes.
What are we telling our girls, our young women?
Yes.
What are we telling our women in general?
Yes.
When men come to you and say they're ready to talk, because the data is there.
Yes.
Suicide rates.
Yes.
Mental illness.
Yes.
The data is there.
Hear you on that.
There must be something. It's not that men are born like this.
Yes.
There must be something that causes men to behave in such a way.
Yes.
But we don't want to do that.